again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. Today we are building in Brindleton Bay on a 30 by 30 lot and we are building a wedding barn. But before we get too far into today's video, I would just like to take a minute to thank today's sponsor. I am very excited to announce that today's video is sponsored by Star Stable. You can download Star Stable on your PC by clicking on the link in the description box just down below. To get started with this incredible horse game, all you need to do is head to the character and horse customization page just on the home screen, and here you can choose your character's name, you can change up their look, and you can also do the same thing for your four-legged friend. Once you've finished customizing your character and horse, you'll be brought to this page here where you can start downloading Star Stable. Once you have registered and downloaded Star Stable, you can head straight into the game and begin your quests with your brand new friend. This game is really fun if you're wanting to find new friends from all across the world who are like-minded and really enjoy horses as much as you. As well as quests, you and your four-legged friend can also compete in some really exciting competitions. There's jumping, there's racing, the possibilities really are endless. As you complete the quests and go through the storyline, you and your horse will also level up. Now you can play this game for free up to level 5, but do not forget there is a link in the description box below where you can get a week free of Star Rider. You will also be exploring the beautiful world of Jorvik, which is the world that comes with Star Stable. This world is absolutely beautiful, and the further that you get in the game, the more of the world that you unlock, which is really exciting. If Star Stable looks like it's the game for you, don't forget how easy it is to register and download this game on your PC, and also do not forget that there is a link in the description box just below to get a week free of Star Rider. Thank you so much once again to Star Stable for sponsoring today's video. So yes, as I was saying, we are building a wedding barn in Brindleton Bay on this 30 by 30 lot. I'm really happy with how this came out. I almost built this in Henford-on-Bagley and then very quickly decided against that because with this build being inspired by Star Stable, when you think of horses you think of farms and barns, but not necessarily like British countryside, because Henford-on-Bagley is of course inspired by the British countryside. It's more American based, and I thought, what world would be better than Brindleton Bay? And I just thought, this is perfect. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret because we have to be honest here. I actually tried to build 3 different houses on this lot, and I wanted the builds to be inspired by Star Stable, and I was like, I had in my head like red barn, red barn, red barn, and whatever I came up with, I just could not make it look good. So this is how we ended up with this. So I'm hoping you all have, or some of you have, some sort of use for a wedding barn in your game. Obviously you can change the where this is located. I understand that this maybe isn't the most ideal lot in the world, but me being me in my head, like this just kind of fit perfectly. And as I was saying, whilst I understand that this lot is definitely probably more for residential purposes, I think it still kind of works with this wedding barn. Now, what I also initially was going to do was add like some sort of like pond tool terrain manipulation, but I will, while I'm thinking about it, put a reference image on the screen for you now. This is the reference image that I worked from for this build. I put on Pinterest like wedding barn or something, or was it on Google Images? I can't actually remember which one it was on. It was on one or the other, and I saw this beautiful build, and I was like, I have to build that. Like, it's just so unusual, and I was ready for it. So this is what we ended up coming up with. And I would also like to point out that the interior is very heavily inspired by the venue that I got married at. It's called Cubley Hall in Yorkshire. That's where I got married in 2019 now. The end of November 2019 is when I got married. So definitely the interior of this build, it was influenced, I would say, by where I got married, but we will talk a little bit more about that when we get onto the interior. But we are currently working on the exterior here. You can see me just pulling out some items from the My Wedding Stories pack. Yes, I did use quite a few items from that pack, just because I thought some of the more rustic themed ones definitely fit in with this particular build. So I hope you don't mind. My Wedding Stories is not one of my favourite game packs, but some of the items that came with the pack I love. I did talk about that when I did my very first video. I did a beach wedding venue, I believe is what I did, and this is slightly different to that, with it being more rustic and it's a barn, so it's definitely polar opposite to what I've done previously. But I just figured I haven't done a wedding venue in so long, and it just feels like it's the right time. It feels right. And it was well received when I posted some work in progress shots on my Twitter and also on my community page on YouTube. So if you are subscribed already, please make sure your notifications are turned on so that you never miss me posting a video or just posting random spiels on my community tab. And then obviously Twitter as well. I post a lot of like behind the scenes footage on Twitter as well. But here I am messing around with the pond and terrain tool, as I was explaining earlier. I very quickly dismissed this idea because it just wasn't working out for what I had in my head for this particular build, and so I decided to put a pergola or pergola here instead, depending on where you're from. It depends on how you pronounce it. I would say pergola, but it just doesn't sound right when I say it. So we end up putting a wedding arch under here so your Sims can get married here, and then there's a bunch of seats outside as well so that your guests can of course watch the couple get married. In terms of gameplay with this pack, I'm still not entirely sure what the situation is with that. I know when this pack initially launched, the gameplay was really janky. I don't know if that's still the case. It's not a gameplay sort of element that I've delved into too much, so please excuse my ignorance. And it seems a bit silly that I'm doing this wedding venue and I haven't actually like tried many of the weddings that came, like the wedding styles that came with this pack. I know it seems a bit strange. I digress. Anyway, so here we are outlining the lot with a debug fence what on earth am I trying to say? A debug fence that I found in the debug menu, of course. It's from the base game. We got there eventually. And it just outlines the lot because it just gives a little bit more realism. I figured that if it was just all open, it just didn't make sense. So I decided to outline the lot with this particular fence. It had that soft rustic look that I was going for with this barn, and I just think it works really well. Then you'll see me here just having a play around with some landscaping. I didn't go too silly with the landscaping actually, which is a little bit unusual for me. Normally I really go to town on my landscaping. with this build, I definitely wanted the actual building to shine through more than the landscaping, so the landscaping's quite minimal for me. This still might be overkill for some people, but for me this is really toned down. So you'll have to let me know what you think in the comments down below about that one. But we pull out these really pretty flowers. I think I want to say they're from base game, but I couldn't be entirely sure, so again please excuse my ignorance on that one. But I end up putting these all around the lot. It just adds a little bit of prettiness and just like cuteness. And I'm also really sorry if my throat is gargling. I've just eaten some food and my throat is going through like a little bit of a gargly phase. I've tried to do this voiceover so many times and I'm just going to push through it because I'm in my office, it's very warm, and I, like, with all due respect, just want to get this done. So please excuse it. But you can see here, it's really coming together now. It's definitely looking like a wedding venue. I definitely had to persevere with this build because when I started doing it, I definitely didn't love it. I was like, oh, it's not how I envisioned. And then I started adding more elements to it. I started changing a few bits around, and it definitely got to the stage where I was like, yes, then my throat just gargled really, really badly. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed. again, I'm not going to stop because I feel like I'm on a roll now. Anyway, yes, it's coming together really, really nicely, and I had to make a few adjustments here and there just to get it to where I wanted it to be, but I am really, really happy with this. And again, I hope someone has a use for it. Please, please, please tell me you do, because it's really pretty. I'd love to have my Sims have a wedding here. Now, here I am attempting to use some like exterior flowers on the build because I felt like there was something missing from the outside, and then I was like, okay, I quickly scrapped that idea and decided to use these fairy lights from the little campus kit, which I have used throughout this build. I think they look really cute, they look really nice, and they're just really subtle, and I think they work really, really well. I'm struggling. I never said I was good at voiceovers. I literally never said that. So I'm so sorry if you have come this far into the video. Like, just bless you. Anyway, yes, exterior coming together. I'm looking back at it now, and I'm like, I actually really like this. It's definitely unusual for me to do a build like this, but I am really happy with it. So I have no issue saying that I'm happy with this particular build. Just adding some more detailing to the exterior. I also put this fountain outside. I think this works really, really beautifully. I know you can hear the fountain like within, like when you go into live mode, whatever you call it, and you can hear the fountain and the birds are chirping. It's just really pleasant. It's kind of like out of a fairy tale, and I really like it. Anyway, landscaping pretty much coming together. I nearly said the pergola. I've literally never said pergola in my life. The pergola is also finished. That was really important to me to fit that in as well, because it screams wedding for me. As I was mentioning earlier about where I got married, there was a pergola where we got married. Now, we didn't get married in there because we got married in November and it was incredibly cold when we were getting our pictures taken outside. I was like, oh, I'm really cold. So we didn't get married there. We actually got married inside the barn, and it was just amazing. So anyway, we are almost finished with the exterior as well. I am just adding a little bit more detailing to the landscaping, pulling out some debug items from the cottage living pack, like this grass. I love putting it under fences because it breaks the fence up a little bit and it makes it look a lot more natural. So I do use that trick here as well. I think it looks really nice. And then I can't remember what else I add to the exterior. Oh yeah, my go-to trees from Get Together from the debug menu had to be done. And then I'm just rejigging like the chair and then this sort of arrangement outside as well. I think this works really nicely. I think it looks amazing. Now we have finally moved on to the interior. So again, heavily inspired by where I got married. We had the top tables up at the top, shock horror, and this is where I sat with my family, and then Lee's family as well. Lee is my husband, and yes, I think it looks really nice. It's again keeping that fairy tale soft romantic theme, but also rustic as well. That was really important to me. With it being a barn, it was important that it was rustic too. So I'm really happy with how this interior turned out. I did play test this. Everything worked perfectly for me, although I have had people come to me before and say X, Y or Z didn't work, and I know you said it worked for you, like what's that all about? I've no idea, unfortunately. I think our games are just wired slightly differently depending on how many packs we've got installed, if we've got any mods installed. There's so many variations to go through, and I just think sometimes it just doesn't work for some people, but hopefully it works for you if and when you download this. So I do end up including these 3 tables here, which each have 6 seats. Now it's slightly overkill, but if I had just put 2 tables in, it would have looked very bare as well. So this is what I end up deciding on. I think it looks really nice. We also put some lights just above the tables as well. I think we used the ones from Cottage Living, like the really rusticy looking ones. I think they look fantastic. And then using these wall candles from the My Wedding Stories pack, I think it just fits in. They just fit in really, really well with the vibe of this entire place. And I was just trying to fit as many things as I possibly could in here. I do also off camera include some wall speakers so that your Sims can listen to music while they're at the wedding. I forgot to include that in my beach wedding venue. Like, that's so naughty of me. I can't believe I forgot to include speakers there, but like, what's a wedding without music, right? What was I thinking? So I do put the wall speakers in this build off camera, so do not panic I can't remember if I mentioned the toilet situation. There's a toilet out back. Not ideal, but again, just trying to make the most of what I sort of had. So just adding some finishing touches here to the interior. And then I think I add fairy lights all the way around the internal walls, which I think just make it look, here we are, incredibly magical and just really pretty. But we are coming towards the end of the video. You can breathe a sigh of relief. You don't have to listen to me ramble on anymore, but you can grab this build from the gallery right now. My origin ID, of course, is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box below. You can get them for free from SimFileShare. Thank you so much once again to Star Stable for sponsoring today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. You guys take care, and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!